Every time Shohei Ohtani enters a stadium, dozens of cameras immediately begin following his every movement. They record him stretching in the outfield, studying opposing pitchers, warming up inside the batting cage, and preparing to produce another historic performance. To millions of baseball fans, Ohtani appears almost impossible to understand, a global superstar who rarely reveals more than he wants the public to see. However, the players who spend every day beside him have witnessed an entirely different version of the Dodgers star. And what they have revealed about Ohtani when the cameras are turned off has completely changed the way many people see him. From the outside, Ohtani appears extremely quiet, serious, and almost permanently focused on baseball. His interviews are usually controlled, his answers are carefully delivered, and he rarely creates unnecessary attention away from the field. Because of that, many people assumed he behaved exactly the same way inside the Dodgers clubhouse. They imagined him arriving silently, completing his preparation alone, and leaving without becoming deeply involved with the rest of the team. According to his teammates, however, that image is very different from the person they see behind closed doors. Teoscar Hernandez was one of the first Dodgers players to openly explain the difference. Hernandez said that people watching from a distance often believe Ohtani is a completely quiet and serious individual. Inside the clubhouse, however, Ohtani regularly laughs, makes jokes, and enjoys conversations with the players sitting around him. Hernandez explained that when someone takes the time to sit beside Ohtani and speak with him, the interaction can become surprisingly entertaining. The mysterious superstar presented to the public suddenly becomes another teammate, enjoying the ordinary moments of a long baseball season. The language difference could easily have isolated Ohtani after he joined the Dodgers, especially inside a clubhouse filled with strong personalities and experienced leaders. Instead, he gradually found ways to communicate through humor, baseball terminology, facial expressions, and the universal routines shared by professional players. His teammates did not need every conversation to be perfectly translated in order to understand his personality. They began recognizing when he was joking, when he was challenging someone, and when he simply wanted to become part of the group. The barrier that appeared so significant from outside the clubhouse became much smaller once the players started spending time together. Miguel Rojas admitted that Ohtani's behavior surprised him because he had previously played alongside other major stars. Some famous players require constant attention, additional assistance, or a carefully controlled environment around them because their lives have become completely different from those of ordinary teammates. Ohtani arrived with greater international attention than almost any player in baseball, yet Rojas noticed that he did not behave like someone demanding special treatment. He laughed with the other players, tried to learn about their interests, and shared pieces of his own personality in return. According to Rojas, Ohtani appeared far more normal and natural than anyone expected. That does not mean Ohtani becomes careless or loses focus when he is comfortable around his teammates. The relaxed version of Ohtani can disappear almost immediately when it is time to begin preparing for a game. Dodgers coaches have watched him move from joking inside the clubhouse to studying detailed information about the opposing pitcher only minutes later. He can sit beside a coach with an electronic tablet, examining pitch patterns, defensive positioning, and opportunities that might appear during the game. Once that process begins, the cheerful teammate becomes one of the most concentrated and methodical players inside the entire organization. Clayton Kershaw described Ohtani as a private person who has nevertheless been excellent around the Dodgers players. More importantly, Kershaw said it is obvious how deeply Ohtani cares about winning. That detail explains why his teammates have accepted him so quickly despite the enormous attention surrounding his presence. Ohtani did not enter the clubhouse behaving as though the team existed to support his individual achievements. He showed the other players that the historic statistics, international popularity, and enormous contract had not become more important than the Dodgers' collective objective. His preparation inside the batting cage has also left Dodgers coaches stunned. Unlike hitters who take dozens of swings without a clear objective, Ohtani attempts to give every repetition a specific purpose. Coaches noticed that he did not simply attack every pitch thrown in his direction during batting practice. When a pitch missed the area he wanted to work on, he could allow it to pass rather than wasting a swing. When the ball entered the correct location, however, Ohtani produced the same explosive movement and concentration that he would use during an actual game. That efficiency is one of the most important parts of his routine when most fans are not watching. Ohtani understands that completing more work does not always mean completing better work, especially for someone balancing the physical demands of hitting, running, rehabilitation, and pitching preparation. Every swing places stress on the body, meaning each repetition must provide genuine value. Dodgers coaches have repeatedly seen him make small adjustments without turning an ordinary practice session into a public performance. The goal is not to impress the people standing around the cage, but to prepare his body for the one swing that could decide the game later that night. Ohtani's ability to remain calm has become equally impressive to the people around him. The Dodgers clubhouse changed dramatically after his arrival, with larger groups of reporters, increased security, international media attention, and constant interest in even the smallest details of his routine. A less disciplined player might have become distracted, frustrated, or separated from his teammates under that pressure. Ohtani instead continued arriving with the same controlled demeanor, completing his work and attempting to become another member of the roster. The more chaotic the environment became around him, the more determined he appeared to keep his own behavior completely normal. Manager Dave Roberts has also seen how Ohtani treats people who cannot provide him with publicity or improve his public image. Behind the scenes, Roberts described him as kind, considerate, respectful, and genuinely concerned about the people around him. Those qualities become important because cameras usually capture superstars interacting with managers, famous teammates, or executives. Clubhouse employees, trainers, support staff, and other workers see what happens when there is no obvious benefit to performing for an audience. According to those closest to the Dodgers, Ohtani's respectful public image does not suddenly disappear once the media leaves the room. The contrast is what makes the revelations from his teammates so fascinating. When Ohtani walks onto the field, his personality becomes controlled, intense, and almost impossible to read. Inside the clubhouse, he can laugh, joke, exchange playful reactions, and show interest in the lives of the people around him. Then, without any dramatic announcement, he changes again and begins studying the smallest details that could provide an advantage. His teammates have discovered that the secret behind Ohtani is not one hidden habit, but his ability to separate relaxation, preparation, and competition with extraordinary discipline. However, the most revealing examples did not come during an ordinary regular season afternoon. They appeared when Ohtani faced enormous personal pressure, physical pain, and moments that could easily have damaged the Dodgers' entire season. That was when his teammates discovered whether the calm behavior inside the clubhouse was genuine or simply another carefully protected public image. What Ohtani did next showed them something even more powerful than his work ethic or sense of humor. And it explained why the Dodgers began trusting him as far more than the most talented player on their roster. The clearest example arrived during the World Series, when Ohtani injured his left shoulder while attempting to steal second base against the Yankees. The stadium became silent as he remained on the ground, and the Dodgers immediately feared that their biggest star might be unable to continue. Inside the clubhouse, however, Ohtani did not create panic or demand that the attention remain focused on him. He underwent treatment, listened to the medical staff, and began concentrating on what he could still do to help the team win. His teammates later saw him return despite the obvious discomfort surrounding every swing. Ohtani could no longer move with the same freedom, and even ordinary actions required additional care. Yet he refused to allow his injury to become an excuse that changed the atmosphere around the Dodgers. He continued preparing, remained engaged in the dugout, and tried to give the lineup whatever contribution his body could provide. That willingness to remain involved revealed how strongly he had connected his personal goals to the team's championship mission. What impressed the Dodgers was not simply that Ohtani wanted to play through pain. Professional athletes regularly compete while injured, especially during the postseason. The difference was the controlled way he handled the situation when no cameras were recording his treatment or private conversations. He did not blame anyone, complain about the risk, or attempt to make his sacrifice the central story. Ohtani treated the injury as another problem that required preparation, discipline, and an honest discussion about what his body could safely manage. That behavior strengthened the trust already developing inside the clubhouse. Players understood that Ohtani was not asking them to carry pressure that he was unwilling to accept himself. When the Dodgers needed him, he attempted to remain available. When he could not perform at full strength, he still supported the players around him and stayed involved with the game. His teammates saw someone who understood that leadership is not always delivered through speeches. Sometimes it is revealed through the quiet decision to remain present when the situation becomes painful and uncertain. Ohtani's generosity also became impossible for teammates to ignore. Before his first season with Los Angeles, Joe Kelly agreed to give up uniform number 17 so Ohtani could continue wearing the number associated with his career. Kelly's wife, Ashley, had publicly supported the idea and created a campaign encouraging Ohtani to join the Dodgers. After the signing became official, a new Porsche appeared outside the Kelly family's home as a gift from Ohtani. The gesture quickly became public, but the motivation behind it revealed the way he remembered those who welcomed him. Inside the clubhouse, that gift was viewed as more than an expensive public gesture. It showed that Ohtani paid attention to the people who had made his transition easier and wanted to express his appreciation in a memorable way. He understood that joining the Dodgers had affected another player's identity and routine, even if changing a jersey number appeared small compared with the size of his contract. Instead of treating the sacrifice as something he automatically deserved, Ohtani responded with gratitude. That attitude helped teammates see the person behind the global superstar. The Dodgers also discovered that Ohtani does not need to dominate every clubhouse conversation. He often observes the room, listens to the personalities around him, and chooses the right moment to participate. When the atmosphere is relaxed, he can become playful and join the jokes. When tension begins rising before an important game, he becomes quieter and turns his attention toward preparation. His teammates learned that his silence does not mean disinterest. In many situations, Ohtani is studying the people around him in the same careful way he studies opposing pitchers. That curiosity became especially important while he adjusted to a completely new organization. Ohtani asked questions about teammates, routines, and the way the Dodgers operated behind the scenes. He wanted to understand how experienced players prepared and how the club handled the pressure created by championship expectations. Even after achieving things no other modern player had accomplished, he continued behaving like someone who believed there was more to learn. Veterans noticed that he possessed confidence in his abilities without acting as though those abilities had given him every answer. One of the biggest misconceptions about Ohtani is that his talent makes success appear effortless. Teammates know that the opposite is true. They see the hours of preparation required to make his performance look natural when the game begins. They watch him study video, complete physical treatment, control his workload, and repeat small movements until they become automatic. The home runs may travel extraordinary distances, but the process behind them is built through details so ordinary that most fans would never consider them important. Even his recovery routine reflects the same level of discipline. Ohtani carefully manages sleep, nutrition, strength work, mobility, and treatment because his body must handle responsibilities that would normally be divided between different players. During his rehabilitation as a pitcher, he still had to remain prepared to face elite pitching every night as a hitter. Dodgers staff members watched him organize each part of the day so that one responsibility did not destroy the other. What appears to be natural greatness is supported by a schedule designed around constant physical maintenance. The emotional control may be even more impressive than the physical preparation. Ohtani can strike out in an important moment, return to the dugout, review what happened, and begin preparing for his next opportunity without allowing frustration to spread through the team. He does not pretend that failure is unimportant, but he refuses to let one unsuccessful at-bat control the rest of the game. Younger players can observe that response from only a few feet away. They see that the most famous player in baseball still treats failure as information rather than humiliation. That approach became a powerful influence during difficult periods of the season. When the Dodgers experienced injuries, inconsistent pitching, and unexpected defeats, Ohtani continued following the same process. He did not become more dramatic when the team struggled or suddenly change his personality when the pressure increased. The consistency gave his teammates a sense of stability. They knew that Ohtani would arrive prepared, remain focused, and continue searching for a way to help, regardless of what had happened the previous night. Perhaps that is what the cameras miss most often. They capture the enormous home runs, record-breaking statistics, celebrations, and emotional postseason moments. They do not always capture the quiet conversations, the careful preparation, the jokes shared with teammates, or the respectful way Ohtani interacts with people who work outside the spotlight. His public image is built around historic talent, but the people beside him every day describe a personality shaped by discipline, curiosity, gratitude, and a genuine desire to belong to the team. Ohtani's teammates did not discover a completely different person behind closed doors. Instead, they discovered a more complete version of the player the world already knew. The seriousness remains, but it exists beside humor. The ambition remains, but it exists beside humility. The individual greatness remains, but it is directed toward a larger objective shared by everyone inside the Dodgers clubhouse. And that may be the real reason Los Angeles embraced him so quickly. When the cameras turn off, Shohei Ohtani does not stop being a superstar. He simply becomes a teammate. That is the end of the video. What surprised you most about Shohei Ohtani's personality when the cameras are no longer watching? Was it his sense of humor, his extraordinary preparation, his generosity, or the calm way he handles pressure and pain? Share your opinion in the comments, because the private side of Ohtani may explain his success just as much as anything he does on the field. Thanks for watching, and do not forget to subscribe for more Dodgers news, Ohtani updates, and stories from inside Major League Baseball.